What if I told you that every losing trade you've ever made was not the market's fault, not the indicator's fault, not the news, not the Fed, not the whales manipulating price? You. And before you close this video, hear me out, because this is exactly what one of the greatest trading minds in history spent his entire career proving. His name is Mark Douglas, and once you truly understand what he discovered, you will never look at trading or yourself the same way again. Mark Douglas was not some Wall Street guru born into money. He was a regular guy who started trading in 1978 while running a successful insurance agency. He figured, if I can build a business from scratch, I can definitely figure out the markets. He was completely wrong. He lost nearly everything. He went to work as a broker at Merrill Lynch, one of the most prestigious firms in the world, and he still kept losing. Not because his strategies were terrible, not because the market was rigged against him. Something deeper was broken, and instead of quitting, Mark Douglas asked the one question that changed his entire life. Why do smart, knowledgeable, hardworking people keep losing money in the markets? He spent years obsessively researching that question. In 1983, he founded Trading Behavior Dynamics, where he went on to coach traders, beginners, professionals, and hedge fund managers on the one thing every single one of them was ignoring: their own minds. His two books, The Disciplined Trader and Trading in the Zone, are still considered the Bible of trading psychology to this day. His core message was simple and completely brutal. The consistency you seek is in your mind, not in the markets. Now let's talk about why 90% of traders lose money, because the number is staggering and the reason behind it will probably surprise you. Studies consistently show that between 90 and 99% of retail traders lose money over time. And the most frustrating part, trading. Many of those failing traders are actually smart people. They read books, study charts, follow the news obsessively, and know more about technical analysis than most finance graduates. So what keeps going wrong? Mark Douglas had a very clear and direct answer. He said market analysis is not the problem. Your inability to execute consistently under uncertainty, that is the problem. Think about what happens in a real trade. You do your analysis. The setup looks clean. Everything lines up. You enter. And the moment real money is on the line, something shifts inside you. Fear creeps in. You start second-guessing the setup you were so confident about 5 minutes ago. Maybe you exit the trade too early and watch it run 200 pips in your direction without you. Maybe you move your stop loss because the thought of being wrong feels unbearable. Maybe you blow up your entire week in one revenge trade after a bad loss. That is not a strategy problem. That is a psychology problem. According to Douglas, the primary issue is that even the most profitable strategy will fail in the hands of a trader with poor psychological discipline. Mind math. Money. 3. Emotional forces destroy most traders. Fear makes you hesitate, exit winners too early, or avoid perfectly valid setups altogether. Greed keeps you in trades far too long, makes you oversize positions, and pushes you to chase moves you already missed. Overconfidence makes you ignore your own rules after a winning streak, right up until one catastrophic trade wipes out weeks of gains. The market does not create these emotions inside you. You bring them to the market. And until you deal with them at the root level, no strategy in the world will consistently save you. Here is the concept Mark Douglas is most famous for, and it will genuinely rewire the way you think about every single trade you take from this point forward. Stop thinking in certainties. Start thinking in probabilities. Most traders approach the market with an unconscious need to be right. They say to themselves, this setup is perfect. This trade is going to work. And when it doesn't, they feel personally attacked. They feel cheated. They panic and they revenge trade. Douglas distills his philosophy into 5 truths that form the backbone of a consistent trader's mindset. Anything can happen. You don't need to know what will happen next to make money. There is a random distribution between wins and losses for any given set of variables. An edge is nothing more than a higher probability of one thing happening over another, and every moment in the market is unique. Trade that swing. Professional traders think in a completely different way. They say, This setup has worked 60% of the time across 200 trades. I have no idea whether this specific trade wins or loses, but I know that if I execute this plan consistently over time, I come out ahead. Douglas used a brilliant comparison to make this crystal clear. Think about how a casino operates. A casino does not know whether the next hand of blackjack will win or lose. They do not need to know. They have the statistical edge, and they run the game thousands of times. The math works itself out every single time. The casino always wins, not on every hand, but over time, without exception. Successful traders operate on the exact same principle. They have an edge, they trust the edge completely, and they execute it over and over again while staying totally detached from the outcome of any single trade. One of the biggest consistency killers is letting your last result influence your next decision. Lose and you get timid, win and you get overconfident. Douglas breaks this cycle by teaching traders to treat each trade as an independent event. Trader Lion. That shift, from being obsessed with individual outcomes to trusting the process over a series of trades, is the single biggest mental transformation that separates consistent winners from everyone else. Now, here is another principle from Mark Douglas that sounds counterintuitive at first, but it is one of the most powerful things you can do before you enter any trade. Before you click buy or sell, fully accept that you might lose that money, not hope that you won't. Not assume your stop will save you at the last second. Genuinely sit with the thought, this amount of money is already gone the moment I enter. I am okay with that. Why does this work? Because the moment you truly and emotionally accept the risk, not just intellectually, but deep down, fear disappears. Traders say they accept the risk, but then hesitate, move stops, or hold losers. Douglas shows that real acceptance is emotional, not intellectual. You know you've accepted the risk when you can take a loss without emotional disturbance. Until then, the market controls you. Trader Lion. Think about where most trading mistakes actually come from. You move your stop because you cannot stand watching price get close to it. You exit a winner too early because you are terrified of a reversal. You skip a perfectly valid setup because the last similar trade didn't work. All of that, every single mistake, is driven by not having fully accepted the risk before entering. When you define your risk clearly and accept it completely, say, I am risking 1% of my account on this trade, and I am genuinely fine with losing that, something powerful shifts inside you. You become calm. You follow your plan. You let the trade breathe. That is exactly what professional traders do. They predefine risk on every trade. Not because they expect to lose, but because accepting the possibility of loss is precisely what sets them free to execute without emotional interference. Mark Douglas also outlined 3 distinct stages that every serious trader passes through on their way to consistency. And understanding where you are right now is absolutely critical, because skipping stages is one of the single biggest reasons accounts blow up. The first stage is the mechanical trader. This is where every trader should begin and where most people need to spend far more time than they do. You pick a system, you define your rules with complete precision, and you follow them exactly as written. No improvising, no gut feelings, just pure execution. This stage is not glamorous, it is not exciting, but it builds the most valuable thing a trader can ever possess, which is self-trust and discipline. The second stage is the subjective trader. Here, you start using experience and market feel to make decisions with more nuance. You can read context more fluidly, but this stage carries a serious danger. It requires a level of emotional control that most people have not yet developed. If you jump to this stage before truly building the foundation of stage 1, you will not be using experience. You will be using emotion dressed up as instinct, and that is how accounts get blown in spectacular fashion. The third stage is the intuitive trader, the highest level, the zone. Here you act with complete clarity and quiet confidence. There is no hesitation, no second guessing, no noise. You almost feel the market before it moves. Traders in the zone don't need to know what the market is going to do next. They know what they are going to do next. And that makes all the difference. Amazon. But this stage is only reachable by genuinely completing the first 2. There are absolutely no shortcuts. Now, be truly honest with yourself about where you are in this journey. Most people who are consistently losing money are trying to operate in stage 3 while still struggling with the most basic fundamentals of stage 1. That gap between where you believe you are and where you actually are, that is costing you real money every single trading day. Let's talk about why all of this matters even more right now in 2025 than it did when Douglas first wrote about it in the 1990s. Trading has never been more accessible in human history. You have Robinhood, Coinbase, Webull, interactive brokers, all sitting on your phone, available 24 hours a day. You can open a position in 15 seconds at 2 in the morning in your living room. But with that access comes a massive new psychological threat that Douglas could never have fully anticipated: FOMO, the fear of missing out. Every single day, your social media feed is flooded with people flexing their gains. Someone on Twitter turned $500 into $50,000 on a meme coin. A Reddit thread is screaming that a stock is about to moon. A Discord server is going all in on a weekly options play. And what do most people do? They abandon their plan. They chase. They buy at the top in a panic. They panic sell at the absolute bottom. The emotional pain traders feel, fear of missing out, fear of loss, revenge trading, comes from internal conflicts, not market behavior. Trade that swing. This is pure emotion-driven trading, exactly the pattern Douglas warned against, but it is now happening at a scale and speed he never could have imagined. The traders who are consistently winning right now are not the ones with the most sophisticated AI-powered indicators or the most expensive trading software. They are the ones who have done the inner work, who have a clear plan, stick to it with discipline, and stay completely unbothered by the constant noise. Most traders spend 80% of their time searching for the perfect strategy and only 20% working on their mindset. According to Douglas, this ratio should be completely reversed. Mind math. Money tools change. Markets evolve. Indicators come and go. But the psychology of fear, greed, and ego has never changed, and it never will. Which means everything Douglas taught is not going out of date. It is becoming more valuable and more rare every single year. So let's bring this all together. Mark Douglas spent decades studying why traders fail, coaching thousands of people across every level of experience, and his conclusion was always the same. It is not the market, it is not the strategy, it is the person sitting behind the keyboard. The traders who win consistently are not the ones who found the perfect indicator or the magic setup. They are the ones who mastered their own psychology, who think in probabilities, accept risk completely before entering, execute their plan without hesitation, and stay fully process-focused no matter what any individual trade does. As Douglas himself said, if your goal is to trade like a professional, you must start from the premise that the solutions are in your mind, not in the market. That is not a soft motivational quote. That is the hardest, most practical, most honest advice in all of trading. You can swap your indicators, change your broker, follow a new guru, buy a new course, and fundamentally nothing will change until you change how your mind operates under real pressure with real money on the line. Start there. Do the work there. Build from that foundation, and everything else will begin to fall into place in a way that no indicator or strategy ever could on its own. If this video gave you something real to think about, drop a comment below and tell me your biggest psychological challenge when you are actually in a trade. I read every single one. Hit subscribe if you want more content that goes this deep, and I will see you in the next one.